Aloha. I always am grateful for the opportunity to talk about anything that's on the financial spectrum because it always helps me, as well as I'm hoping that it will be meaningful to you. I'm going to ask all the people up here to go sit over there, okay, because that's going to be super helpful for me. I'm actually going to move down there, so, but I wanted to, let me just get I think it's really important. I have spoke so much over the years about financial topics that I think it's really important to sort of establish what we're going to talk about tonight, because the financial universe is huge, okay? And so I was told for this meeting tonight that we wanted to talk to people about kind of taking financial control of their life, and people who may not be finance track students. They're not people that have had a lot of experience in dealing with financial matters, people who are single, people who are married, people who may be single head of household, those kinds of things. So we're going to talk about those issues tonight. I am going to be speaking in either March or April. We haven't picked the exact date, where I'm going to continue on and not talk about the subject matter that I'm talking about tonight, that we're going to be talking more about things in a little bit more depth in the investment space. And so you're all invited to come and talk about that. But I wanted to start tonight, so I'm going to move down here. And nobody's ever said that they can't hear me. Okay, so here we go. All right. So it's January. So in January 1st, we set our resolutions, don't we? Okay, so what are the top 3 reoccurring, so they have these things that reoccur over and over and over again. Does anybody want to help me here? What's one of the resolutions that's always made every January?
Lose weight.
Lose weight. Okay, yes. Okay, so since it's always, and it's been, just to let you know on this one, this has been one of the top 3 for the last 50 years. So why aren't we all thin? We've been doing it for 50 years, right? Okay, here we go. What's another one? Somebody help me? Get out of debt. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one's right there. Okay. That one has also been one of the top 3 for 50 years. So are we all out of debt? 50 years. Okay. Just kind of think about it. Does anybody know what the third one is? Oh, gosh. Here we go. There we go. Okay, there's the top 3. Okay. They over and over and over again, they are the New Year's resolution. Now, I'm not going to embarrass anybody in the room and ask them if that happened to be your New Year's resolution on January 1st, but I just read a study, because that's what I do, that said that the people who picked one of these 3, what day is it? 21st. Okay. 70% of the people that picked one of these 3 have already abandoned that. Okay, 21 days in, and we're already giving up, okay? The reason why I wanted to start off with this and talk about this is to try and explain to you what I see my purpose as being here tonight, okay? And that is to try and encourage people here to embrace changing their behavior. Okay, and it could apply to any one of these 3, but it could apply to other ones as well. But typically when we look at things in the finance space, your personal financial behavior. Almost everybody says, I wish I was out of debt. I wish I saved more money. I wish I had invested more for retirement. Okay? There's never enough. I promise you. Doesn't matter how much you have, you wish you'd done more. Okay? So what we're going to try and talk about tonight is to talk about what do I need to do to change my behavior? Because I talk a lot, and Sister Hananen has been with me for a long time. And I said, you know, I used to go talk and wish that I could get 3 people in a room like this. 3 people who would take one thing I said and go do it. I'm not very successful, am I? Okay? And so we're going to talk today about some things that you could do that would help you to change the behavior so that you're not 21 days into something and say, I've already abandoned my goals. I've already given up. Because what I'm going to be talking to you about is really lifelong. Now, I understand I like numbers. I like to spend all my time with numbers. But here, we'll do a little quick survey. How many of you would like to be able to buy a house one day? Yeah, there you go. How many of you would like to be able, you guys haven't even started working yet. How many of you would like to be able to retire one day? Yeah, okay, yeah. So how do you get that to happen? How does that work? It's not like magic, okay? It takes, so when we think about things, we want to talk about how do I start? What do I need to do to get started? And then we're going to talk about, I need to learn a little bit more. Now, I understand. I read all this stuff and I do this stuff because that's what I like. I don't have any hobbies. This is investing kind of is my hobby right now. I had 4 kids, okay? I didn't have time for a hobby. But for most of you, it's not something you're necessarily passionate about. And I understand that. But could you become a little bit passionate about it? Enough there that you could spend enough time that you could actually be able to accomplish your goals. So we're not talking about full-time. We're not talking about I need to go out. But it's kind of like reading the scriptures. Am I willing to do a little bit? Oh, Brother Elder Johnson, right? Every day, every day, every day. That was so great, wasn't it? Okay. Maybe you don't have to do it every day, but are you willing to spend, I don't know, 2 times a week, 3 times a week? Would you be willing to look at one thing 2 or 3 times a week? Could you do that? Maybe? Yeah, so it has to be manageable, right? In order to be able to set any goal, doesn't it have to be achievable? Isn't that always smart, right? Yeah, it has to be achievable. So we have to, but we need to put some measurements in there, and we got to look at it. And so for most of you say, well, what are the steps? And I'm not going to spend time tonight because I've got some other things to kind of go through with you. But my church calling is, I am the personal finance, I guess I'm a coordinator, in the self-reliance program. I would recommend that each one of you go through that 12-week program. You can go find it in your words and stakes. It's 2 hours a week for 12 weeks. And you might say, oh, that sounds like a lot of time. And I try and, because I have people all the time ask me about this and say, well, what's the program like? It's like a 12-step program. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, okay? We don't sit in a circle. Come on, everybody's seen this on TV or in movies, how they do this, right? They all sit in a circle, and then is there anybody who teaches? No, what do? What do they do in Alcoholics Anonymous? They share. They talk. They share. They learn. They learn from each other, don't they? Okay? And I love the church's program. I've done this type of speaking for decades. And I totally embrace the church's approach. And that is, you kind of have to immerse yourself in this, okay? And you have to change your behavior in order to be able to be financially successful, okay? And so what are those changes that you need to go through and make? And how do you kind of look at those things and set that? You need to be able to set goals. Oh, I get this one a lot. I just want to have $1 million one day. Okay, well, what if I showed you how you could actually do that? Would you go do it? I think you'd be shocked at how many of you go, yeah, okay, because I've shown this for 12 years, and I still have very few people who take me up on it, okay? So we're going to talk about those steps and what those steps involve, and what's involved there as you look at them, but you have to set a goal. Do we always achieve our goals? No, we don't, but I guarantee you, if you don't set a goal, you have no chance of achieving it, right? So you got to be able to get out there and set a goal. And then we got to go take a look at those goals. How are we doing? We're going to have to figure out some measurement things. I always tell people that's what we do in finance. We go out there and we measure everything. We just measure and measure and measure. We use numerical measurements to go look at things, and we go evaluate them. Does that make sense? Does it work? Am I on my path? Do I need to do more? Can I do less? Aren't those all things we need to be able to do? So you need to be able to go through and evaluate your steps and look at them and see how they're working. The reason why I'm not talking about investments tonight, does anybody know who any of these people are? If you know who one of these people's picture is, can you raise your hand? Okay, yeah? If you know, keep your hands up. If you know who 2 of these people are. Yeah? 3? Maybe? Yeah? 4? No? Okay. Which one, Brother Elder Richards, who don't you know?
In the lower right-hand corner.
Oh, that's Ray Lucia. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's Ray Lucia, who literally has been on the radio for more than 40 years talking about financial planning, okay? I think he's actually retired, and now his son is doing it, and they do podcasts and webinars and all that kind of stuff. Does anybody know who's in the bottom left-hand corner? Dave Ramsey, okay? Oh my gosh, Dave Ramsey, he puts videos on YouTube, I think it's twice a day. So you can get information on him from him for free, okay? Who's in the top corner on the left-hand side? Anybody know? The guy up in the top with the red tie. That's Jim Cramer. He's on Mad Money. Okay? I really like Jim Cramer. For those of you who really want to be involved in this, because you might find once you start actually putting your own money in, you actually start to really care. Okay? The reason why I like Jim Cramer, he's on CNBC on Mad Money. If you listen to him, I try and tell students, if you would listen to him for 4 months, okay, and you can pull him up if you're not available for when he's on. You can pull up his podcast. He's got a website too now, goingthestreet.com. He will teach you how to invest. Okay, just sit and listen, okay, as you look at that. And then, does anybody know, I have people tell me all the time, I kind of look like this woman or I act like this woman. Does anybody know who the woman is? Susie Orman, okay? And Susie's been doing it for decades too, okay? You might have heard of some of these people. Here, let's go do this one. How about Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Yeah, okay. How about The Millionaire Next Door? Okay, these books have been around for a long time. I don't have The Richest Man in Babylon because I think my son came and got it. Jim Cramer has done several books, okay? Any of them. You could pick up any one of them and you could read them, okay? But I don't recommend you do that right now. I recommend you find somebody. They're going to be your financial coach. You're going to go and listen to what they have to say. 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Could you do that? Could you pull up a podcast while you're in the car or are you doing something and listen to it while they're coming along? I promise you, when you first start listening, you're going to understand about every 3rd or 4th word. Okay? It's like learning a foreign language, and there's so many of you in this room that have learned how to do that. Well, let's go learn financial language. Okay? And you just sit there and listen to it. I would listen to Dave Ramsey. Okay? I don't always agree with Dave on everything, but I totally love his approach. He's very spiritual. Okay? And let me tell you, you may think, oh, you know, I can't do what he says. We're going to talk about some of the things. I have a daughter that graduated from BYU, Idaho about 3.5 years ago. Okay? She and her husband, they already had a baby. Come on, BYU, Idaho. Already have a baby, graduated from school. She was pregnant with the next one, okay? And they are going, and they got a job, okay? And in 2.5 years, they saved $27,000. Okay? She doesn't work. She was at home with all these little kids running around, and they did that. You know, you can do it. You can do it. It's whether it's a goal for you. It's whether it's a priority for you. Whether it's going to be something that's in the forefront of your mind. That's why I want you to get into one of the personal finance classes, because it'll teach you how to do this. So it's like every day, that you have something financial that you're kind of thinking about. And if you get it done during the day, hey, then you're off until tomorrow. Okay? So if you can figure out something to do between 8 and 8:30 in the morning, you have the rest of the day off. Okay? And that's my approach that I like to explain to people in a really big group like this. You're not going to spend the time that I spend. You know, sometimes I don't sleep. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm reading what's happening, you know, in Asia or in Europe or doing. You don't want to do that, okay? I don't actually want to do it anymore. So here's the first thing, okay? This is from the church's program, but Dave Ramsey does this as well, okay? So we're going to do a mix of different people's. Susie Orman does the same thing. You need to immediately get an emergency fund going. So let's talk about that. What is an emergency fund? What is that? Is that an investment fund? No, it's not. It's cash. It's cash, and it's not cash that sits in your checking account. It's cash that sits in another account. Why does it need to not be cash that's sitting in your checking account? You're going to spend it, right? You're going to spend it. That's the reality. And this is another reason why I want you to get yourself into the personal finance class. So they're going to give you tools. They're going to explain to you some of these things about how to do this. How do I do this? If you're not willing to do this, you're not ready to start. Don't come and talk to me. I get this all the time. I call it the magic millionaire pill. Student will come and knock on my door and say, I want to talk with you about investments. And I go, you know, okay, come in, sit down, let's start talking about it. But you got to get your other financial stuff in order, because I'm going to ask you, and I'll show you in just a minute how we do the investment side, and I'm going to ask you to do very small amounts of money every month. Every month. Well, you don't know if you can do it every month unless you know that you don't need that money to live on. So you need to go get yourself an emergency fund. You've got to be able to have funds put aside, because if an emergency comes and I'm telling you you need to be putting $100 a month into an investment account, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to stop doing investments and go deal with the emergency, aren't you?
That's what I would do. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The best advice I got when I was in college was for emergency fund, get 1 year's salary that is.
Oh, we're gonna get there, but this is like, before you do anything else, you gotta go do this,
Yeah,
okay? Susie's, I'm there. Me, Susie, Dave, we're all in a line on that one, okay? As you look at that. You know, I had this happen in my own family. One of my children said, I don't have any cash. I'm going to go out and I bought all these clothes. I'm going to go sell these clothes and I'm going to come up with my $1,000. Okay? You look at it. I was going to, I almost did the wrong thing and said, oh, no, I'll give you $1,000. I said, nope, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, go sell your clothes. Come up with $1,000. Okay? As you look at that. So the next thing, this is a challenging one. I know that a number of you have taken on student loans to come to school, to kind of look at this, and you got to get out of debt. You got to get out of debt. You can't make minimum payments on student loans and keep paying. Minimum payments on student loans can make those student loans last 20 years. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to get that. So once I got my emergency fund, don't I need to actually look at how much I owe? Right? I got to look at it. No, don't look. I don't want to look at it. It's too big of a number. I think I'll not look at it. Does that make the number become smaller? No. Okay. So we need to be able to look at it. So we're going to do that. And there are several different ways that you can go about getting out of debt. I have some Dave Ramsey people. Does somebody know what Dave says? He says snowball. So let's explain what snowball means.
Take your time, you put it on your highest, or your smallest,
No.
your smallest.
Dave says, which is he says, if you have a list of debts, okay? So let's say that I owe $5,000 on a credit card, and I have let's call it a student loan. Of $2,000. And then maybe I have an auto loan, and maybe I owe $700 on my auto loan, right there. Okay. Now, credit cards. Anybody know what credit card rates average? Yeah, can we all say at least 18 plus? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So interest rate on this says this is 18% plus. And auto loan rates, the average on them is like 6.9%. Okay? So when I look at this, and I don't know student loans because I don't have one, okay? But let's go kind of look at this for a minute. Oh, I'm going to pay down my debt. What would be financially, if you looked at it, what is the way that you would approach this to have it be the lowest cost? What should I pay first? The highest interest rate, right? That makes the most sense. I pay that one down first. I leave all the other stuff, okay? Dave says the opposite from that. Yes, that is one method to pay the highest one first. Dave Ramsey came up with this one. He called it a snowball. So when you think of a snowball, the idea is that we start small, but it starts to pick up speed and it starts to pick up strength. And so he would say, come in and pay this one first, right there. I actually kind of agree with this. I've taught this self-reliance program now enough times to realize that if sometimes you have to say, here's finance, and then here's human nature, okay? Because we want to change behavior, and in order to be able to change behavior, we have to stay with it, right? And I totally agree with Dave on this one. Pay off the lowest balance first. The reason is we need to feel successful, don't we? We need to, write it down on a piece of paper, and when you pay it off, you get to go like this. And now you take what you were paying on that, and now we move up to the next one, and we make bigger payments on that one. That's the idea behind Snowball. Yeah, I get it. It doesn't wipe out the 18% one, but it does help us when we think about that human nature and the success that we feel like we need to have in order to be able to continue on. Why do most people, if they go on a diet, why don't they stick with the diet? Yeah, they do. If they thought they could lose a pound a day, they'd stay on the diet, wouldn't they? Okay, but that's not how it works, is it? So if you know yourself, this is where it's not for me to tell you how to do things. It's what kind of changes do you want to be able to make in your behavior as you look at that. And you want to be able to make changes that you're going to be able to stay on that. And I promise you, if you start paying down your debt, you're less likely to incur more debt, because every time you go buy something on that credit card, after you've just made a payment on it, you're like going, no, it's like not going down. I want it to go down. And so you're more likely to follow through on that. So we're going to worry about paying off our debt and making sure that we can do that. Let's go talk about this. Most people think that getting out of debt is financial. If I just had more money, I could get out of debt. That's so not true. Why? What happens when you get more money? You spend more. Yeah, okay. So the idea here is that we're going to look at changing our behavior at whatever level of income that we have right now. Okay? So instead of saying, I'm going to wait when I get out of school and I'm going to get a really good job and I'm going to make a lot of money and then I'm going to do all this stuff, why don't we start doing it now? Because just imagine after you get out of school and you get that really good job, you're already have everything in place and you can just do it faster. You're set up. You're ready to go. Okay? And so the other thing we need to learn how to do, in addition to doing things every day, we need to learn to say no to ourselves. That's not very fun, is it? It's not very fun at all. But how about if you said no to yourself because you were working towards something better? Okay? Think in your own mind. When was the last time I went out and I made a purchase and I spent $100? Can you even remember what you bought? And if you remember what you bought, could you, if you went to the grocery store, can you remember all the grocery items that were on the belt? Okay, can you remember? Maybe, maybe not, okay? So we want to be able to say, hey, I actually want to participate in my life. I want to be responsible. I'm willing to say no to myself when I walk down the ice cream aisle, yeah, because I'm working towards something greater. Okay, yeah, think about that, okay? And so we are going to make getting out of debt so important that everything we do, we're going to make sure that it supports that and doesn't work against that. And if we do that, I've seen this. I've done it myself. I've done it with other people and helped them. If you're really serious about it, there's a way out. Okay? And maybe it takes credit counseling. Maybe it takes other issues. But there are many, many vehicles and ways to kind of get ourselves out of that. So that's going to be our second step. What's our first step? We're going to have an emergency fund of $1,000. Okay? And then we're going to work on and getting out of debt. Now, items 1, 2, and now 3, we're going to be working on all of these at the same time. Okay? Yeah. All at the same time. Oh, that sounds so complicated. Yeah, it is, until we get a system set up, right? That's why I want you to go to the personal finance class to get your system set up. Because once you get your system set up, then you just work your system, don't you? Okay? I have to make all those decisions every time I look at things. I just know that if I work my program, that's what's I'm gonna get there, okay? And so this is what Sister Hananen was talking about. She was saying it's not just enough to have $1,000. We actually have to have, boy, believe me, if you had 6 months of your expenses in cash sitting in an account, how comfortable, how safe would you feel? Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm doing pretty good. Please understand, this is not investment. This is what students do. I go get my $1,000 and I immediately want to go, buy 4 Apple shares. That's investment. This is cash. This is stuff that's out there for emergency, okay? As I look at that. And so there's different ways we can go about doing that. I always tell people, set up a separate account. Just set it up and don't link it to your checking account, okay? So no moving, no transferring things back and forth. Oh, I forgot to tell you one thing. If you're having a problem on the debt side and it has to do with those really pesky little cards, right? If you have a problem with those, here's my advice to you. Take the cards out of your wallet, take a bowl, put some water in it, put the cards in it, and stick it in the freezer. Okay? And preferably where you can't read the numbers. So no online shopping, okay, that's cheating, okay? So face down in the water, can't read the numbers, okay? Why do I tell you not to cut them up? I like that one. There's hope for you. Why? Emergency. If something really bad happens, you might need a card. Okay? But you want them where they are not accessible to you, right? So no cheating, no trying to use really clear water so you can pull out the ice cube and try and read that off of that. None of that, okay? Put them in your freezer and freeze them. So now so when we say that this emergency fund is not an investment, what is it? What's that other I word that it is? It acts as insurance. Okay? It acts as insurance. And so insurance has a very, very different role than investment. I don't know about you, but when I invest my money, I want my money to grow. Isn't that what we want? Yeah. It needs to go up in value. I put it in an investment, and if at the end of a year they gave me exactly back the money I put in, I'd be like, wait a minute, this was supposed to grow. That's the difference between investment and insurance. What does insurance do? Yeah, right? You pay car insurance. Why do you pay car insurance? In case somebody hits you, in case you hit somebody else, right? That's the whole point of that. Sometimes we can have things that can act like investment and insurance at the same time, but at this basic level, no. They each have a specific role, and the cash is acting as insurance. So it's there, it's available, you can do that, okay? As you see that. So let's go take a look. We talked about insurance. It acts as a way of protecting us. Let's go talk. It's not going to advance on me. My computer freezes, so it does this. And I apologize for that. But step number 4 is that we want to be able to save 15% of our income. Now we're going to talk about saving and investing for a minute, okay? So what is saving? How do I save? How do I get the money to save? Because I'm going to tell you, I want 15% to go into investment. So how do we do that? Okay, so here's a basic truth, okay? Here's my income, and my income has to be greater than my expenses in order to be able to save. Isn't that true? Okay? So most people don't have the ability to increase this. It's like magic. I'll just go in and ask my boss, just give me more money. Sure, no problem. She or he will tell you, oh, sure, no problem. What do you have control of in this scenario? The only thing you really have control of on a day-to-day basis is this. Isn't that true? Okay? And so as you look at this, you want to be able to take what income you have and say, I'm going to take 15% of my income. Now, this is where Dave Ramsey's great, Susie Orman's great, Jim Cramer's great, but this is why I want you to get into the church's program. Because in the personal finance class, what's my number one expense? Tithing. Yeah. Why is tithing number one? Why don't I just pay my tithing with what's left over after I pay all my bills? Why don't I do it that way? I'll pay all my bills, and then at the end of the month, with what I have left in my checking account, I'll pay my tithing. It never is enough, is it? Okay? It never is enough. That, you know what? And I want to kind of take that idea. We pay tithing first, and then what do we need to do second?
Pay ourselves.
And what do we mean by paying ourselves? That's that 15%, isn't it? That I'm going to put into that savings or investing. Right here, okay? Yeah. Why do I do that second? Why don't I just wait till the end of the month and I'll take the money that's left in my checking account, I'll just move it over to my investment account? Yeah? Does it work? We spend whatever's there plus a little bit more, okay? So we gotta be doing this first, okay? Now, there's some ways that we can do this. And we need to be smart about this, okay? Because we want to do this month after month after month after month. That's what we want to do, okay? So, if you're a student and you're going to graduate and you're going to go work with an employer, right along with signing all that paperwork on the first day where they have you fill out your emergency information and everything, you ought to be asking them, actually, you should be talking to them about this when you interview with them and say, do you have a 401k program? Does anybody know what a 401k is? I got a lot of stuff. Talk a little louder.
Is it the
retirement plan. It's called a retirement savings account, and it's sponsored by your employer. Okay? So most employers will match. You put $1 in, they'll match $1 up to a certain dollar amount. Okay? Should you ask your employer that when you're interviewing with them? You guys all want to know, how much are they going to pay me? But how much, this is what we call benefits, right? Yeah? All of my HR people, you should be able to talk with people about the benefits, okay, as you look at that. So let's say, you've got this thing called a 401k. We'll come back and talk about that in just a minute. Let's say that you get a job with a real small employer and they don't have that. What else can you do? I can use this thing called an individual retirement account right there, okay? And I don't have time today, there's a Roth or there's a traditional IRA kind of account. You can set those up yourself, okay? And if you're somebody that's really serious about being able to retire, you need to have one of those. Can you have a 401k and an IRA at the same time? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Okay? So you need to read about those things in order to be able to do this, in order to be able to figure out, hey, I'm going to save this money, where am I going to put it? Don't I have to have it has to have a home, a place it can go to? And a lot of people, when they look at IRAs, they wait until it's April 15th, because what's April 15th in the United States? Tax day, and they go, okay, I'm going to make a big contribution into my IRA. I always find that so fascinating, because does that mean you had a whole bunch of money sitting aside waiting to just put in there? No. What should you probably do in your IRA? Yeah, you should put that in your monthly budget, right? And you should make that be, I'm going to make that contribution every month, so I don't have to come up with that at the end in order to be able to do that. That's part of that changing behavior as you look at it, okay? And I remember when I got out of school, this will tell you how old I am, you could put, I think, $3,000 into an IRA. Yeah, does anybody know how much you can put into one now? It's gone up. Okay, so you have the ability to put almost $100 a month into an IRA. Okay, yeah. And you think, oh, $100 a month. $100 a month, that's not going to get me anywhere. $100 a month. I want to have enough money to be able to retire. Well, okay, here we go. And I apologize. Hopefully my computer is going to work, because it would help right here. My bad. Okay, so I'll send out a copy of the PowerPoint slides the people from the Women in Leadership can put out there and look at this. So I'm going to take my $100 every month, and I'm going to do it religiously. I'm going to make that change in behavior, and I'm going to do it. And so if I do it for 25 years, I start with 0, because I'm poor. That's what you always tell me. I'm a student. I'm poor. I have no money. I'm just going to start doing $100 a month. If I do it for 25 years, and I earn a 12% return. Now that may sound like it's really high, but that's the average return of the S&P 500 since 1920 to 2017. So that's why I use it, okay? If you think that that return is too high and you don't think it's going to compound enough right there, that just means you need to put more money in, okay? But if we do $100 a month, does anybody want to guess how much money I end up with at the end of 25 years? I'm just going to put $100 a month. Throw it in the account. Let it grow. I'll end up with about $400,000. Okay? Well, okay, that sounds pretty good. But how about if I go, instead of doing $100 a month for 25 years, I'm going to do it for 30 years. Anybody want to guess how much money I have? I have over $1 million. I have over about $1,150,000. If I do that, and I do it for 35 years, how much money do I get? Closer to 3. Okay? Now, the reason why I do this, and I say this to you, let's say that I invested for 50 years. I would end up with just short of $6 million at $100 a month. Now, you may say, wow, 50 years, that's a really, really, really long time. But, I'm sorry?
It goes fast.
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you, Brother Stagg. Okay, the reason why I'm starting to like to use this example is because people are living longer. And because we're living longer, you all think, oh, I'm going to retire one day and then I'm not going to have to work anymore. Well, if you retire and you're 65 years old right now, the life expectancy says that if you're a woman, you're going to live, the average life expectancy is you're going to live over 90. Okay? There's no program on the planet that you can retire at 65 and live for another 25 years and not have to continue to put a little bit of investment aside. Okay? So we need to be lifelong investors. Not just investing for retirement, but lifelong investors. And wouldn't you be more interested in investing if you actually saw the numbers grow? Because, remember, how do I get the money to save? It means I'm willing to cut my expenses on other things, doesn't it? Okay? And when I do that and I actually start to see the money grow, then I actually care, don't I? I've had this happen for years where people will say, oh, I'm not going to actually invest any money. I'm just going to act like, they call it paper trading. I'm just going to act like I'm putting that money there, and I'll see whether or not it actually works or not. It doesn't ever work. Want me to tell you why? Because the decisions you make when there's real money involved are different than if it's on paper. You're willing to take way more risk with your money if it's not real. That's called Las Vegas. Okay, yeah. You're willing to take more risks with that money, aren't you? Go ahead, Em.
So there was nobody that's been poorer than Brother Springer and I when we first got married. We literally took turns calling home to ask for a couple $100 every month, right? For poorest nearly once ever. And we were poor for a long time, not just those years, but when our kids were little. And what I wish someone had told me, so I'm telling you, is when you are poor nearly once and you have no money, that's when you make a plan for what you do when you finally start to make money. Because it was like the biggest shock of our lives when we finally started making money and we opened our bank account. It wasn't terrifying, right? And it was like, well, now what do? We had no idea. And that's when it's very tempting to go buy a new car, take a vacation, because you've been poor so long, you've been like deprived. You're like drinking in the water and enjoying every minute, right? And not that we went crazy, but we didn't, but I was glad somebody was there to say, buy a house or make a plan or, do something with it, because seriously, we had lived poor for so long. We were the most surprised people to open our bank balance and see the positive, exciting number that had a couple zeros behind it, It was like, wow. We could buy diapers and ice cream, So make the plan now while you're poor, because it's much harder to make a plan when you have some money.
The time is so important, okay? This is what most of you do. I'm single, okay? I'm single, I have no money. I'll wait. And then you get married, and then you don't have any money. You thought you didn't have any when you're single. You don't have any when you're married. And then if you have a baby, you are just so poor. You're like, I have no money, okay? No, you've got to figure out a way to do this along the way. And that's what I'm saying is that you've got to be able to do these things, be able to pay off the debts, and be able to invest because you need that time. Don't wait 10 or 15 years and say, I'll come back to it. If you wait, let's say that you started it and when you're 20 years old and you wait until, God, I can't do this. I've got to pay off my debts. I've got student loans. But then you wake up and you're 40 years old and you go, wow, I only have 25 years left until I'm supposed to retire. And then I have to put 10 times as much money aside every month. So if you thought you couldn't afford $100 a month, can you afford $1,000 a month? Because believe me, it's not going to feel, when you're 40 years old, it's not going to feel any smaller than $100 a month is right now. Okay? As you look at that. So, the other part of this, and I want to talk about this. So you do this, you pay your tithing first. You pay into your retirement or your savings. You do this, and then you pay your expenses over here. Let's go talk about this because this is why I believe this is so important. If you have money left over after you do these things, if you have money left over in your budget, because you have months where you have some money left over, can't you go spend it and not feel like, oh my gosh, we just went and spent that money. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You've taken care of the other part, haven't you? Okay? And this is where I know I'm running out of time, so let me kind of pull some steps together here at the end. The most important one is at the end. Everything we have in this life comes from our Heavenly Father. Everything. Spiritual blessings, financial blessings, it all comes from Heavenly Father. And for those who are blessed with having more abundance, what does the scriptures tell us? Are we just supposed to build a great big investment account? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to help other people. We're supposed to give money away. And you would be shocked. You have a family in your ward, you'd be shocked at how much $250 can help somebody who's really in a financial crisis. Okay? You can help others. That's what Heavenly Father has us here for, is to be able to share with other people, enjoy our life, and to be able to help other people that come into our life. I'm going to close with a quote. I had one from Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie started U.S. Steel. He's the richest man in the world, okay? And he said that wealth is a sacred trust. Does anybody know what Andrew Carnegie did with some of his money? He built libraries. Yeah. He built libraries to be able to share with small communities. So if you're a really small town in America and you wanted to, you could put it into the Carnegie Trust and they'd send you some money so you could open a library to be able to help enrich the lives of people around you. And that's what Andrew Carnegie did. I think it's really, really important. I'll close with one last thought. Dave Ramsey has this one and I really love this. Dave Ramsey has said, go pay off your debts. Go pay off your home. He said, the new sign of wealth is not driving a new BMW. It's owning your own home. It's being out of debt. It's having that financial freedom that you could have in your life. And you can do this. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. All you need to do is start. You need to have a financial coach. You need to be able to set some goals. You need to get some tools about how to go about it. And you can achieve that financial independence that I truly believe that Heavenly Father wants you to have. Thank you.